Hi friends, welcome to the Scapegoat Club. My name's Jess, and this video is going to talk about the pain of estrangement. We're going to look at it from two different perspectives, from that of the adult child and that of the parent that they're estranging from. It's going to be interesting, it's going to be a little bit scientific, so stay tuned and we'll get going on it. Hi friends, my name is Jess. I am a therapist and a coach, and I'm estranged from my family, and I talk a lot about estrangement, and I really want to get into the different viewpoints that parents and their adult children can have around estrangement. And really the purpose of this video is to give perspective, because I think one of the challenges we have in estrangement is we're so hurt. There's so many really deep and difficult emotions that we can become sidelined in mentally and emotionally in terms of what's happening. So I want to try and give a different kind of approach to think about it, and I'm going to use some different visuals on it. And really my goal is that perhaps if we can think about it from a really less personal and an intensely emotional perspective, we can think about it more from a science or a bit more of an observer perspective, then maybe that'll help and that can shift things. And so really for me, reconciliation, if that's going to happen, is going to come when we're in a place where we're not really emotionally heightened. So that's the point of the video. And also, just to be clear, I'm a bit of a science nerd. You might not know this, but actually I have a PhD in earth sciences. So I spent a lot of time doing numbers, doing graphs and all that good stuff before I got into psychology. And I love it. The nerdy side in me is just, there's nothing better than a good spreadsheet and a good graph for me. So I've done some graphs which for me represent the different views that the two sides have when it comes to estrangement. So I'm going to talk you through what they look like. So basically we have time going along horizontally, and then vertically we have perceived pain, the amount of emotional pain that somebody's in. This is kind of my idea of what parents and actually ideally kids want from a relationship with their parent or their child. We just all want to basically have relationships where we have low amounts of pain and life is pretty good. So that's what this flat line is here. And also this is a very simplified idea. So bear with me, stay with me, and we'll keep going because it will become clear. So again, we all want to have nice, easy, lovely relationships. Great. But actually what happens when we have difficult relationships with our family members and we get to the point that it's so bad that we get to estrangement is that we end up in very high emotional pain. So this graph here is really how I think a lot of parents will perceive estrangement. Basically, they're going along, they think everything is fine, and then their child estranges. They didn't really see it coming, or if they did, they didn't think it was that bad. Estrangement happens and pain just goes up and it becomes very, very high. Now, whether it kind of levels off or continues to accelerate is obviously a matter of a discussion. But basically, this is kind of a simplified idea of, I think, a parent's experience with estrangement from their child. And now, here's the thing, because I think the child's version of events is kind of the opposite. And so it would look something like this, where the pain is actually high. Things are very difficult. They're finding the relationship really, really challenging. And so they come to estrange. That reduces their pain, and then they continue on. Obviously, I should say that I have made this up. There is no scientific data gone into this. This is purely my idea and my visual. So please don't ask me where I got the data from, because there is none. These are very simplified versions and they won't apply to everybody. And so if that was a simplified version of estrangement, the pain of estrangement, this is an example of what I think actually really estrangement looked like, more from my perspective, where things were kind of up and down with my parents, but they were never good. They were always quite difficult, and then they became so difficult, and I had very elevated levels of difficulty where estrangement became absolutely necessary. And since then things have been so much better. Again, there's been some wobbles where my mental health has been really hard, or I've kind of potentially questioned whether I've made the right decisions, but ultimately this is more kind of my perspective on what happened. I should say as well, please let me know in the comments, am I way off? What would your pain curve look like? How are you perceiving things? Am I completely out to lunch on this, or does it make sense? Okay, well, so then what do we do? Basically, we've got these kind of polar opposites. We've actually, these graphs are basically the same, they're just flipped, where the pain is kind of exchanged from the child's side onto the parent. I think one of the problems with estrangement, and when we're looking to reconcile, or when parents are looking to reconcile, I should say, is that either they don't recognize the child's pain curve, or they have this idea of, well, the child has a problem, so they should go to therapy, or we can go to joint therapy and then we can fix it. And so then there's this idea of, okay, the pain is there, estrangement happens, we do the therapy, and then that fixes everything, everybody's happy, and then hopefully we resolve some things and we move on and things get better. The problem is, I think, and this for me is one of the biggest challenges for me, is that I don't see that being realistic for some situations. I think for some relationships, okay, and then this could work. Therapy can work with communication, understanding boundaries, and really getting each other's perspective, and working through from a mutually respectful position where you generally both sides want to try and find a way forwards on some level. For me, the problem with abusive relationships is that the idea of therapy just doesn't happen. Either the child is expected to do it themselves and do all the work and then continue back into the family, and then the family just kind of continues doing what they were doing and nothing has changed. Or again, maybe a parent will go and show up to a therapy session or two, but really the old behaviors continue and things don't improve for the child. And so it would look something more like this. And so coming back to my point of view, the video, let's think from both sides. So if you are a child, if you are potentially the scapegoat as well, hi scapegoats, it's the Scapegoat Club. If you are estranging because your family is very difficult, it's very toxic and harmful, then you probably know deep in your heart whether there's any point in any kind of therapy and whether the effort of going through that would be any use. I think it's really important, if we are thinking about our pain levels, to be really clear, like, would anything change? Or is there any point in having any kind of reconciliation or moving back into the family if my pain is going to go up, if my emotional distress is really going to go back up to those levels that I used to have? We really need to look after ourselves and be careful and be honest about that. At the same time, if you estranged and you're still feeling a lot of pain, and maybe there is some regret, or maybe time has given you a different perspective and you think, oh, maybe there are some ways that we can, I don't know, compromise, come together, find some common ground, then that's a good thing to think about as well. I think from a parent's perspective, if you're looking at the estrangement and wanting to reconcile with your child, then for me, I really hope that these these graphs or this way of representing it is helpful, because I see and I hear so many parents saying, there's not a problem, I don't know why my child is estranged, or it's just so bad for me. And there's not this reflection or this thought about, why did your child do it? They did it because they thought it was the best option that they had. And so really giving that some credibility, thinking that actually, yeah, they did it because they were really suffering. It's such an important thing to think about, but not from the perspective of wanting to punish the parent or dwell on all the mistakes that they made. None of that. But just to acknowledge that your child has really been hurting, and that there are things about the relationship that they need to change in order to be in not such a difficult emotional place. Really recognizing that, for me, is the fundamental first step of some kind of reconciliation with your adult child. Friends, thank you so much for being here. I'd love to hear what you think. Please drop me a line below. You can comment, you can like, subscribe, hit the notification bell. I have lots of stuff on my website. I do one-on-one coaching and I do regular meetings as well. So if you'd like to have a chat with me directly, or you just got some more questions that you'd like me to answer in a little bit more of a personal space, then please check out the website. Thanks so much for being here, friends. Take care, and I will see you soon. Bye for now.